It's Beth with Indiana Wild, and I'm so excited to be back here with my friends at the Yorktown Public Library in Yorktown, Indiana. I'm so sad we cannot be there in person, but hey, this is like the next best thing, right? Because you guys can watch from home or wherever you are, and I can bring you lots of different animals that you'll be able to see. And now, while some things are going to be a little bit different because, well, let's face it, remember when we talk about our programs, we usually talk about using 4 of our 5 senses. Remember, we're going to look at the animals, and you can still hear the animals. But look, friends, it's a blessing. You don't have to smell the animals today, and you can sit at your own home and eat whatever you want to eat. So you can taste things during our programs. And while I know you're not going to get to touch them, I'm so sorry about that. But I tell you, as soon as things change a little bit, hopefully we will be right back with you next year. And again, we're so excited to be with you because I've got some great animals we're going to show you today. So today we are celebrating the summer reading program, and remember, that is Imagine Your Story, and how great is that? We can imagine whatever we want to do. Right now we're imagining what it's going to be like in a couple weeks, or when we get back to being outside and in front of people. But right now we can imagine our story in all kinds of ways. And one of my favorite things to do is imagine stories when we're in books, so reading books, or even watching movies or listening to audiobooks. And a lot of that stuff you can check out at your Yorktown Public Library. So make sure that when everything gets going, check out their website. They have lots of stuff. And I do want to give a special shout out to our Tigers and our Cubs and anybody else who signed up for the summer reading program at Yorktown Public Library. Well, friends, let's get started because I've got some animals that maybe you've seen before and some who are a little bit new and a little bit different. Our first one is my friend down here. Let me see. I know I'm working in a different space. This is just going to get you with cuteness. Friends, look. This is Woodburn Wild Charles Winchester, a.k.a. Chuck. Friends, he's a groundhog. That's right. We have a groundhog at Indiana Wild, and he's a baby groundhog. He's just turning 12 weeks old, and look, he likes his baby cookies just like everybody else. Now, friends, you can kind of see him from the side here, and think about maybe when you've seen a groundhog. Maybe you've seen a groundhog outside, or maybe you've seen a groundhog on a movie. Oh, yes, Groundhog Day might not be appropriate for small children. And on our storybooks. And we even have a holiday with the groundhog. It's Groundhog Day. And how cool is that, friends? Groundhogs, we celebrate them in all different parts of our lives. Not just the science and the nature of them, but also how they're intertwined in all different parts of our lives, like our video movies and our storybooks and even our holidays. We have Groundhog Day. How cool is that? Well, a little bit about him. Chuck here, as we said, he's about 12 weeks old, and he's a groundhog. They also call him marmots and whistle pigs and woodchucks. And friends, they don't actually chuck wood. That's just kind of a funny rhyme to say, right? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He doesn't chuck wood. Yes, but he does have some super cool things because he's a mammal. Look at him. We know he's a mammal because he has all the things that mammals have. He is covered in hair or fur. Remember, we have hair or fur. And look, he has a backbone. We have a backbone. Friends, find your backbone. Keep it. Use it. Never lose it. That becomes very important when you're teenagers. Always remember you have a backbone. Now, we also know he's a mammal because he breathes air with lungs. Everybody take a deep breath. Let it out. And we know that he didn't hatch from eggs. Friends, mammals don't hatch from eggs, although there are 2. Do you know which 2 mammals hatch from eggs? Actually, you can find that information online and even in lots of animal books. The 2 mammals who actually hatch from eggs are called the duck-billed platypus and the short-nosed echidna. Those are both from Australia. How cool is that? You can read about Australia and all kinds of mammals from the library and the places we find them. So, there is one that does not hatch from an egg, friends. No matter what the Easter Bunny says, they do not hatch from eggs. And also they don't poo jelly beans, yes. But he is a mammal because he breathes air with lungs, he has a backbone, he's born live birth, he gets milk or nourishment from his mother, and he's warm-blooded. Now remember, friends, warm-blooded means their body temperature, our body temperature, stays the same. It doesn't change unless we have a cold or a temperature. Now, see if I can turn around. This is what he likes to do. He likes to lay down like a baby. Oh, sometimes, yes. Will you lay down? Yes. Right there. Friends, look. He's really cool. He's a baby. Now, he is also a rodent. They're actually giant squirrels, and the largest in the squirrel family. You dropped your treat, yes. And so he's got those teeth that are constantly growing since he's a rodent. Groundhogs will actually see him up in trees, but not very often. Most of the time we see him under the ground. And while I know groundhogs, some people don't like them, and they can be pretty destructive, they're actually considered a pest. But here at Indiana Wild, we celebrate all of our animals. And, oh, we're going to get ready to celebrate somebody else. So everybody say bye, Chuck. Bye, Chuck. Say bye. Yes. All right, friends. Maybe we'll see Chuck, hopefully, next time we come to Yorktown Public Library or one of your events, then we'll bring Chuck with us. Friends, our next one is right here. Now, she's not covered in fur. She's covered in scales. And you know what? Oh, wait. No, this is a pillowcase. Yes. But inside here is a snake. Yes, and she's one of my favorites. She's one that you have probably seen right there at Yorktown Public Library because I travel with her all the time. And, oh, that was her head. We never grab a hold of snakes by their head. She is right here. Look at this, friends. This is Rio. Look how pretty she is. Now, Rio is a reptile. We know she's a reptile because she has a backbone. Remember, we have a backbone. Mammals have backbones too. But then things get very different because reptiles have a dry, scaly skin. Friends, she is not slimy. Reptiles aren't slimy unless, well, she wouldn't be slimy unless two reasons. One, she had an accident in her pillowcase, which she didn't do. Or if she came out of the water, which she didn't do. Now, Rio is amazing because she's an African ball python. So she's native to Africa. However, they're very common in the pet industry, and most of those are captive raised anymore. But she has some super cool things. She is actually has camouflage. So if you look at her, she's going to blend into the forest floor in Africa with those dark browns, and she's actually getting ready to shed her skin, which will be really cool. And she also has something else that's interesting called counter shading. So she's dark on the top, light on the belly. So watch this. If she's balled up on the forest floor, an animal is predator or prey walking past her looking down, she's going to blend in. But look, if she's balled up in the tree, where she'll spend a lot of time in Africa, when that predator or prey looks up, that the belly is going to blend in with the light of the sky. So how cool is that? We call that an adaptation. Lots of animals adaptations, like great white sharks, they have counter shading, or frogs, or even penguins. Remember, penguins are dark on the top and light on the belly. Now, we also know she's a reptile because she's cold-blooded. Everybody take your hand, put it on your forehead. You are warm-blooded. Our body temperature doesn't change. Remember, Chuck's going to be the same temperature unless maybe he has a cold or a disease. She's going to be the same temperature as the air around us. So if you feel your chair or your table or your floor, that's going to be similar to cold-blooded because that temperature is regulated by the air around. Now, because of that, she's not always warm enough to catch and digest her food. So you know what? She doesn't eat 3 meals a day. She doesn't even eat once a day. She eats once a week. Yes, and because of that, look, you can see this largest area of her body. She can swallow something the size of the largest part of her body. But look how small her head is. Another cool feature about snakes, she can actually unhinge her jaw and wrap around and swallow something the biggest part of her body. How cool is that? It's also, since she's cold-blooded, she needs to be warm to catch and digest her food. So we're not going to see snakes and reptiles in Antarctica and places like that. Now, I know some people are really nervous about snakes, and so we like to remind people, because sometimes people are afraid of snakes because they might bite. Friends, if you have a little brother or sister, you're more likely to be bitten by them than my snake here. Yes, because, well, one, it'd be bad for business if I brought a snake to the library that was going to bite people. But she is very cool because she was somebody's pet before she came to us. So remember, reptiles are cold-blooded. They have a backbone. They breathe air with lungs. She hatched from an egg. Now, there are lots of snakes in books that we can read, or we can read about their faraway places where they live. Some of my snakes are like, oh, the big snake in Jungle Book, or maybe different games and things that we can play. So she's a reptile. She has a backbone. Chuck is a mammal. He has a backbone. Friends, we call animals with backbones vertebrates. Everybody say vertebrate. That's right. Vertebrates are animals with backbones. But you know what? There's more animals in the world without backbones. Actually, for every one animal with a backbone, there are at least 10 without. So, I have to show you one. Now, I know usually I bring my friends Beethoven and Mozart, our decomposing cockroaches. But today, whoops, that's not the one I'm looking for. This is the one I'm looking for. Yes, today I'm going to show you somebody else really cool. He's kind of little, but he's very interesting because his name is Vinny. Look at that. This is Vinny. He is a vinegaroon scorpion. Wow. Look at that. He's beautiful. And he's an invertebrate. Everybody say invertebrate. That means he doesn't have a backbone. So, he doesn't have a backbone, so he could be squishy like a worm or crunchy like a cockroach. He's actually more crunchy. So we say he has an exoskeleton. Everybody say exoskeleton, right? Exoskeleton means that they have like this protection. It helps to protect their body. Now, they're still very fragile, so we wouldn't want to drop Vinny. But he's pretty cool. And now, as I said, he's a scorpion, but look. It's kind of interesting because he doesn't have one of those tails like emperor scorpions and things like that. And that's because he doesn't sting with it. What he does is he actually emits acid. I know. Yes, right from his tail. You know people who do that too. But look, when he emits acid, it smells like vinegar. It's the same kind of acid actually. So it's an irritant. So it would irritate animals who are trying to eat him. So there he is. How cool is that? Now, as we said, there are actually more animals in the world without backbones than with backbones. In fact, for every one snake or groundhog, there's actually 10 invertebrates, 10 animals without backbones. And you know what? We look at a lot of them, and a lot of them we can celebrate in our culture. There's one of my favorites. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Right? SpongeBob SquarePants. Did you know that SpongeBob SquarePants is all about invertebrates, animals without backbones? That's right. So krill and plankton and squid and coral and crabs, those are all animals without backbones. And then on land we do this. Oh, yes, bugs and insects. Remember, we all like bugs and insects, right? Like mosquitoes. Or, well, wait. No, some of us don't like mosquitoes. I'm not exactly sure why we have mosquitoes. But what about ladybugs? Ooh, everybody loves ladybugs. Not the yellow ones, just the red ones with the black dots. Or what about butterflies? And what about everybody's favorite summertime bug, the lightning bug? Friends, make sure you go outside. You can observe them. You can watch them. On a clear night, you can usually see, right in Indiana, you can see lots of lightning bugs. And at the Yorktown Public Library, you can go back and you can read about them and get online and look at all kinds of things about bugs and insects, everything in the animal world. Well, so we've seen them with backbones and without backbones. Our next one is, oh yes, scales and fur. Friends, our next one is covered in slime. Yeah, okay, that's kind of gross. We could be like scientists since we're, you know, at the library. You can get all kinds of scientific information. And let's talk about, well, slime or mucus. We could say mucus, or I know that's kind of gross, or snot. Friends, it's all the same. Slime, mucus, snot. It all covers this animal because this one here, his name is Ooze. Yeah, I know it's kind of gross. But look, he is a, whoa, tree frog. That's right. Friends, this is Ooze. He's a White's tree frog. Now, tree frogs from White's tree frogs are found in Australia. Look at that. How cool is that? Now, amphibians are amazing, and you can read lots of stuff about them. Amphibians are amazing because, you know what? They're the only animal with a backbone that goes through a metamorphosis. They go through a change. Everybody say metamorphosis. That's right. Usually when we think about animals going through a metamorphosis, we think about butterflies, from caterpillars to butterflies and things like that. But if you think of a frog, like Ooze here, look, when he was a baby, he didn't look like this. What do we call animals, amphibians, when they're babies? That's right, we call them tadpoles. So he lived and he breathed like a fish. He swam around with a tail, no legs. His eyes were on the sides of his head. His mouth was really little. And then look at him now, friends. He has 4 legs. His eyes move to the top of his head and his mouth is really big. Some people have said that I might have been an amphibian once with a little mouth when I was little and a big mouth now, but it's okay. Yes, I don't worry about what people say about me. But look, he is covered in mucus. He feels kind of like a pickle, and he's covered in that slime to protect him. Now, tree frogs live in, that's right, the trees. And so even on a windy day when the wind is blowing, the branches are blowing, he's not going to fall off because he has these little suction cup-like things on his feet, and that helps him to hold on. Now, who can think of frogs that we might have read about, maybe in our storybooks? What about the frog and Toad? What about Kermit the Frog? There's lots of frogs, and they're intertwined in all different parts of our lives. And girls, here's one for you. What about the princess who kissed the frog and he became a prince, right? Friends, I will tell you, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. He's been kissed a lot. He's not a prince. But how cool is that? We can look at all the cultural connections that we have with the animals and connect them right to books and stories and audiobooks that we find right at the library or even online. So now ooze is really cool, and we like frogs and amphibians because they're important in our habitat. While we're not going to find White's tree frogs from Australia in Indiana, we are going to see lots and lots of frogs. And that's why we need to make sure that we keep our water clean so that we can help protect their habitat. Now, I'm going to show you a couple others, and I hope that you're enjoying this program. I know it's not the same as when we're right there in front of you, but hopefully you get to see the animals maybe a little bit better. Our next one is another one covered in fur. And some of you, if you went to the program last year, I think you probably met him. He was definitely a favorite. He has not grown that much because, well, he's not going to. Friends, this is Moses. Aw, I know, right? So cute. Moses is a fennec fox. Everybody say hi, Moses. Now, Moses, just like Chuck, is a mammal. So, he has all the same things. He breathes air with lungs. He's covered in fur. And he's warm-blooded. He also was born live birth. And he has a backbone, and he breathes air with lungs. How cool is that? But then things are really different because when we looked at Chuck, he was a dark brown color because he lives in Indiana, and he's going to blend in to the dirt and places. But look, Moses here, he's native to places like the Sahara Desert, the Arabian Desert, places like that, because he's a desert fox. He's a fennec fox. So we call him Moses because he's also native to Mount Sinai. But he has huge ears because, look, in the desert, is it always hot? It actually is hot most of the time, but at night it's really cold. So his ears help him to radiate the heat, but also he's got thick pads of fur on the bottom of his feet because the sand is so warm. Now he's covered in fur. He is cool because he is an omnivore. Now remember, who remembers, what does omnivore mean? That's right. He eats meat and potatoes. Actually, his favorite thing to eat, mice. Yes, I know. Don't worry, friends. We feed frozen thawed mice and rats at Indiana Wild. You can get them at Kroger's right next to the banquet meals. Just ask for them. And he likes blueberries, and he likes raw meat and things like that because he's an omnivore. Now, I will backtrack for a minute because we have seen some other animals. We've seen Chuck. He's an herbivore. So remember, friends, that means he eats plants. And, of course, our snake Rio there, she was a carnivore. She only eats meat. She wouldn't try broccoli or anything. So we have seen an omnivore, an herbivore, a carnivore. We've had them covered in fur and scales. And, oh, wait, let's show you somebody who's covered in feathers. I'm going to step over here for just a minute. Now, oh, I know you all know that covered in feathers must be a bird. And it sure is. Look, friends, this is Echo. Everybody say hi, Echo. Echo is a green-cheek conure. How cool is that? And Echo is a bird. So we know Echo is a bird because Echo has two wings. All birds have wings. Can all birds fly? You're right. All birds cannot fly. Like penguins and ostriches, they don't fly. But then she also has other things that make her a bird. She has that tail feather. She's covered in feathers. So all birds have feathers, but they're not all the same. Now her feathers work kind of like zippers, and so she will actually run her beak over them, and she'll zip them up so the water will run off her back, or so that she can fly. Now She can fly a little bit, but we have given her almost like what we would call almost like a haircut. We've trimmed her wings so she can glide down safely, but she's not going to actually be able to go anywhere. Also, we know she's a bird because she hatched from an egg, and she has a beak or a bill. Now, she has a beak. Look at that beak. She's what we call a hook bill. That means her beak goes like this. It's got a nice hook on it. She's got a thick tongue. So, in South America, where she'd be from, she would actually be able to crack open nuts and use that thick tongue to scoop those out. We can talk a lot or tell a lot about a bird by its beak. Maybe it's a flamingo who's a filter feeder and they just drag their beak through the water. Or maybe it's a hawk or an eagle and they have this huge beak that they can grab and tear things with. Here's something else that we can tell a lot by a bird, and that's, look at his feet. His feet are zygodactyl. He's got these very delicate toes because, you know what? He doesn't eat webbed feet because he's not a duck. And he doesn't need huge talons because he's not catching live prey. Instead, he just needs these little toes to help him in the trees, so when the wind starts blowing, he can sit nicely in the trees, yes. Also, something really cool, being a parrot, a conure, he's got two faces. He has two toes facing forward, two toes facing backwards. We call that zygodactyl. Everybody say zygodactyl. That's right, because look, we'll see if he'll do it. What he can do then is he can grab a hold of things, and look, he uses that foot right there just to hold on to stuff while he eats. Ooh, I don't know if Chuck's going to like him eating his snacks. But, so we do know he's a bird. He's got a backbone. He's got a skeletal system. He hatched from an egg. He's warm-blooded. And he's covered in feathers, and he's got two wings. Yes. And do you know what? We can find lots of birds when we read books. Storybooks have birds. I bet everybody can think of a famous bird. There's ducks, like Donald Duck. There are parrots. Maybe the movie Rio. There's all kinds of birds that are intertwined in all different parts of our culture. Again, the library is a great place to pick those up. All right, well, let's see here. Who else do we have? Oh, friends, I have one more friend to show you. And he is one of our favorites. Yes, everybody loves him. Because... wrong cooler, wrong show. All right, friends, are you ready? Here he is, everybody's favorite. Friends, look, it's Dooney. Everybody say hi, Dooney. No, not Judy, Dooney. Dooney Burke. Remember, he lives in Indiana Wild with his brothers Versace, Prada, and Louis Vuitton. That's right, he's an alligator. He's a North American alligator. Yes, and we can think even of alligators that we might see in movies or in our storybooks. Lyle the crocodile. Now, he's similar, but he's a little bit different. Does anybody know what the difference between an alligator and a crocodile is? I'm going to tell you. And you can find this in books and everything else. It's actually, well, maybe not. Actually, look. What some people say is that an alligator will have a U shape on its snout. A crocodile will have a V shape. I like to tell people that it's all about when you see them. If it's after a while, it's a crocodile, and if you see him later, it's an alligator. But apparently, that's not the accurate scientific way. So, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, friends. He is definitely one of our ambassadors at Indiana Wild. Alligators are amazing. Look, he's a reptile, remember? Just like the snake Rio. They're very similar because they both have backbones. They both breathe air with lungs. They're both cold-blooded. They both hatch from eggs. But you know what? Even when an animal is similar, they can also be very different. One of those differences, if you look at him, look, he's got 4 legs. And we like to talk about alligator safety when we talk about Dooney. Because look, he's got those amazing teeth. If you see his teeth, he has approximately 80 teeth. 40 on the top, 40 on the bottom. But cool story, as he grows to be 6 to 14 foot long, his teeth will be the size of my thumb. Big alligator, big teeth. And he'll lose his teeth. He'll have 2,000 to 3,000 teeth in his entire lifetime. How cool is that? And then if you look at his feet, those are amazing also. He's an apex predator, which means not a lot of things eat him. So he's equipped with all kinds of armor. He's got these sharp claws. But look at his toes. Did you know he has 4 toes on the back and 5 toes on the front? But only 3 claws on each of those feet. Nobody knows why that is. Some people refer to those as mud toes. They actually believe they have extra nerve endings in them. So if a mama alligator is walking along and she puts her toe in the dirt and the temperature is right and the time is right, she'll actually lay her eggs. And then she can also feel the eggs when they start to hatch. She can feel the vibrations right through those toes. How cool is that? Now, he does have webbed feet on the back and non-webbed feet on the front. Well, he's got one little toe here that's kind of, but his webbed feet are on the back, so that helps him to swim. He's got those toes there. And then, of course, you have to watch out for his tail. So, friends, if you see an alligator, well, one, if you're in Yorktown, Indiana, and there's an alligator in the pond, you should just tell somebody because they're not supposed to be there. But look, if you're in Florida, when you step into the water will ripple, it'll smack him in the face, and he'll say, there's somebody in my pond, and he'll swim over. But look, he's not going to eat you. He's a baby alligator. It would take him all day to eat your shoe, and he's not going to claw you because, look, he's got little Tyrannosaurus Rex legs. Instead, he'd swim up, he'd turn around, he'd smack you as he swam away. Yes, and he doesn't want to be around us any more than we want to be around him. But he's got those cool adaptations and cool features. He has all these individual bones on his scutes and on the belly. He's very, very soft. Now, of course, with all of our programs, we always have to ask the important question, who thinks alligators make great pets? And I'm sure some people have their hands up. But look, friends, at Indiana Wild, we're not here to tell you what kind of animal to have or not to have. We are here to encourage you. It doesn't matter if you have a cat, a dog, a parakeet, or a goldfish. If you have a pet, it's a lifetime commitment. I want to thank you all for joining us on Facebook today. I know it's a little bit different, but please make sure if you're adding a pet into your house that you're being responsible. Pets are not disposable, so please make sure we're committed to taking care of them. The animals you've seen today, actually the majority of them have been somebody else's pet before they came to us. And so we always want to make sure that we are encouraging people to make responsible decisions. As for the animals from outside or in the faraway places, right here in Indiana, anytime you can put up a bird house, a bat house, or a bird feeder, you're doing your part to help protect those habitats. As for the animals from the faraway places, anytime you reduce, reuse, and recycle, then you can help protect those habitats and maybe even rethink how we use our resources. I want to thank you again. Another special shout out to our Yorktown Public Library. We love you guys. We miss you guys. Make sure that you wash your hands. And friends, don't forget to be wild. Thanks. Have a great rest of your summer. If you would like more information about Indiana Wild, please visit us on our Facebook page. Thanks. Don't forget, be wild.